We got some dogs making new friends.
Yeah, she loves dogs.
Pretty good.
So we get to see one.
Introduce themselves to you, the name of their channel, kind of what they do on their channel, kind of what projects maybe they're in. We're going to try to keep it brief, sir. Alright, so we're going to try to keep it brief and let everybody, all the channels, get an opportunity to talk. I'm going to take a volunteer. I will. Of the channels that are here, who's going to volunteer?
Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say I will, but Kelly jumped to it.
Let's go ahead and start off. We're going to thank God for the day that He has given us to have this opportunity to come together and get to know each other a little bit better and just share each other's lives. Let's go ahead. A hard time because she's fun to give a hard time to. All right, what should we do next? How about we do, huh?
Do a big one.
A big? You want to do a big one next?
Yeah.
We only got one big one, and this third. You sure? We can do it. You want it? Okay, let's do it. All right. So we're going ahead and giving the Badlands winch, 12,000-pound winch. All right, there you go.
016.
016. Yes, congratulations. All right. What do you think here? Let's go with this cool knife.
Hey, you got.
All right, so we've got a cool knife here, 3.4-inch blade. You can expand a little bit on this, though. Does a bee up the nose make you feel closer to your ladies now?
Hey, that's a great question. I would say, you know, they know me intimately now. I mean, specifically that one bee, but, you know, I love my bees. I'm passionate about my bees. I don't hold any ill feelings towards them. And in fact, my Safety Sallies on my channel are always yelling at me about wearing my bee suit, but I just don't. I feel more comfortable. I feel more at ease. You know, I feel like I'm pretty peaceful, and therefore the bees are pretty gentle with me.
There you go. Hey, this is for me. When did you realize YouTube could be a full-time thing? And so we've been on YouTube for quite a while. Since 2013 is when we started, when we lived in Indonesia. And that was basically just a hobby at the time. It was a way for us to share our life with our friends and family back here at home. And then, you know, during that process, though, of learning YouTube and how to make videos and all of that, we learned that you could actually make a living on YouTube. And so I guess at that point I realized that it was possible, but I didn't know if it was possible for me, you know? And so once we got to our property, we had a set period of time that we were going to try to do this and try to make it work. And we had a certain amount of money saved up so that we could live on it for that period of time, which is about 6 months we had saved up. And if we couldn't make it work within 6 months, I was going to get a job being a truck driver or something. I don't know what I was going to do. Farms. Here you go, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right, so Costa Rican Farms. Is there anything that you regret?
Yes.
Absolutely. No. Is there anything you regret doing on your homestead? You know, like looking back at what you did, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently? Maybe is another way to put it.
I think that anytime you do something, you can look at it and say, I could have done that differently, or I wish I would have done that differently. I think I did follow the advice of live on the property for a year before you really start deciding where you're going to put things. So I'm really glad that I did that. But that slowed everything down, and so I didn't get bigger buildings built. So I don't have a lot of storage space, which is really hard. So that's the one thing that I regret, not jumping in and getting at least a garage built straight out the gate so that things could be stored and not left out to the elements. That's a big issue.
What did you look for when looking to buy land?
So the first time, our first homestead, there was nothing, there's no land available whenever we purchased it, and we wanted a wooded acre lot, but there was none. So we settled with the 10-acre farmland. But now the land that we bought now, things we looked for was could we get water on there, and we knew we could because all our neighbors drilled wells. That was the most important thing, was to get water out there before we ever moved out there, and so we did that. And just what do you want to do with your land? You want animals? You want to hunt on it? We want to hunt, so we can hunt on that land and things like that. So it's basically what you want to do with it. So a lot of us here probably want to raise animals. So you can on our first homestead, we did everything like on 1.5 acres. We had 10 acres, but everything was literally on 1.5 acres. So you don't need to go buy 5, 10, 15 acres if you don't want to. You can do it within 2 acres. So that's what we look for. We need the water. Electricity, we're off grid now, so electricity wasn't a big deal to us right now. So
yeah, great. I need help here. I'm trying to pick a good hard one. Got that one. Okay.
Dramatic pause. I knew it.
Oh, there you go. I knew it. Let's see. So, what are your plans for adding on to your homestead? Kind of, what are some of the things that you want to do in the future that people can be looking forward to?
Yeah. Wow. You're gonna make me drop all the secrets right now?
Well, it could just be like a couple that you want to like just kind of give a sneak peek into.
Well, so Courtney and I actually this last weekend stayed at the Whitefish Bike Retreat, and now I'm dead set on developing our place into a private mountain bike retreat.
He's emailing Alibaba about a mini excavator. Yeah,
I could see that.
So that might be, I think, something. And then I think the one we'll tell you about that we haven't told anyone about is we really want to think differently about water on our property. So we don't plan to drill a wells in our area.
YouTubers ever. That was never something we thought was even a possibility. We met in college at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo.
And we were both in the off-road club, really into rock crawling and building rock crawlers and just spending as much time outside as we could.
So we thought, oh, well, you could go to college, you're supposed to turn your hobby into your work. Right? So we started an off-road shop, and we did that for a couple years, and then we no longer enjoyed off-roading because it was work.
They'll take those out. Any kind of the brush, they'll clear that out really quickly. A really good way is just to get, you have to trim a path for your fence, but Premier One electric fencing, pig netting, it's like this tall off the ground, so even if you're advanced in age and it's hard to get in and out of fencing, the pig netting, you just step right over it and you're in. Both the pigs in.
Say it louder for those of us.
Premier One pig net fencing. Yeah, and so goats, I'm sorry, I know there's some goat people here, but goats will leave. Goats will try every way to leave. And the thing is, what are you going to do with your goats after? I know somebody's going to jump me. I'm going to get fired. Right, well, yeah, you can eat them, right? How many goats do you need, though, to clear? Is there a size? Okay, so it kind of depends on your scale. But if we're talking about acres, right, you need a lot of goats for that. It's going to take a really, really long time, and by the time you cycle them back through, you're going to get the regrowth. The pigs, you can get a dozen pigs, and they're going to do the job quickly for you, and you keep 2 for you, and you have a market, you can sell the other 10. It's a lot of pork and bacon, and I promise you there's way more market for pork than there is goat. The goat market, and this is true for lamb, because I used to sell lamb, it's a very small market. When you sell it, it's a good market, there's more, it's a premium product, but everyone wants pork, and you don't have to work as hard for those customers. So pigs, that's my answer.
So this is the question that everybody wants to know. I should have the microphone still. How did you get started doing the off-grid lifestyle? And for those that are thinking about getting into off-grid living, like what's kind of your motivation behind it?
Well, we started looking for a place to camp on. And when we started looking at what it was going to cost to improve the land by putting in a septic system and having to haul water all the time, we decided to look at more developed property.
So people want to know, and Brandy, you might want to chime in on this. What are some of the hard things that you find living off grid compared to when you lived on grid? Some of the more difficult things that you have to kind of have to work through.
So for us, I know it was the bathroom situation in the camper. And the shower is so small. If you guys ever stayed in a camper, you guys understand. So we had to get the toilet set up as quick as possible in the house. Three girls, there's 5 of us. So that was pretty bad. And then,
that was important to you guys.
Finding a property was difficult. We had searched far and wide in not just the greater San Point Bonner County area, but also in western Montana, in eastern Washington, looking at all kinds of property and what we could afford and what we needed. It was hard we had to be practical with ourselves about what was realistic for us. So yeah, I think that's a #1 question we get is how do we find our property, and it's kind of just by pure luck. Yeah. Meeting the right people, talking to the right people, and it sort of fell into our lap almost. I think it's all about dollars per watt, and there are some great resources out there to buy secondhand panels, especially if you're going off grid. You don't need to get approval from your state for the installation, so that you don't need new panels with the UL sticker on them, so why pay extra for them?
Yeah, great. And that resource for those panels is on their channel, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys have a link to the source?
Recent videos on where we're getting our panels from.
Okay, so you check out their channel, and there's a link in there where you can get used panels at greatly reduced prices. Yeah.
Or even, ours are new panels that are second hand. They've never been installed.
Right. They got rained on. Yeah, so you know how the government is. Panels got rained on, so now they're used. All right. Let us go mingle. Release us.
There you go. We all knew it was there.
Hi everybody, I'm Heather, and my channel is Cause We Can Farms. And I got that name because I love all of the things. And I've had multiple farms, and people would say, well, why did you get alpacas? And I'm like, well, because I can. Well, why did you get llamas? Well, because I can. So that became the name of my farm, because I can, because we can. So I'm a military veteran, and I come from a veteran family. And when my son got out of the Navy, he asked me to sell my farm in Washington and come over here and take care of grandbabies, and I did immediately because they're cute. Such a hard decision. Those babies, right? It's not a hard decision. So I spent about 2 years in Post Falls in the city, and love my grandbabies, hate the city. cannot do town. I have PTSD. I have high levels of anxiety, and what I found is when I was in town, that became almost uncontrollable, and I fell back into the phase that I was in right after I got out of the military, and I basically became a hermit. The one thing about living out in the country and that type of lifestyle is it gets me out of my house. It forces me to interact with my animals and do things, and then in that you have to go buy feed, you have to go buy things, so I got to interact with people. I needed that kind of push. And one of the other things when I was researching how to deal with my anxiety and all of that is when I started finding articles on the stuff that we put in our foods or that's put in our foods and stuff causes anxiety and causes those problems. So it was making an issue that I already had worse. That's what started my desire to try and grow my own and produce my own and do as much as I possibly could. So that was the drive behind having property and putting all this work into it, because it is a huge amount of work, but I absolutely love it. And the reason why I started doing YouTube was my grandfather built houses, and we have a few little pictures of him building houses, but, and I am not going to cry because y'all, I'm tough. to be able to see my grandfather building the houses that I can drive down the blocks and see that he built would have been an amazing gift. And I had a lot of friends that were like, it's really cool that you'll just jump up and re-roof a house, so you should video it. And I just thought that that was ridiculous until those babies hit the ground, and then I wanted something that they could see when I was no longer here. So that's the reason behind my YouTube channel and why I do that. Kim, don't look at me, don't cry. So the property that I found, I have 73 acres of a mountain. It's because I love people. I want someone it was not the property that I was looking for. I wanted flat property. I wanted pasture. I wanted to be able to raise buffalo. And I had a realtor looking for about 3 years for me. And the things that he came across was, none of it was my list, none of my want was on there. And he said, up here, you're just probably not going to find that unless you have about $1 million, which I did not have. So he found the property that I have now, and we hiked up there, my son and I and the grandbabies, and came across the view. And if you watch my channel, you've definitely seen the view, and that was it. That sold it. So has nothing. None of the things that were on my to-do list, other than the fact that it was over 50 acres, because that's what I wanted. Everything else was completely different. So I immediately bought a sawmill. I did not know how to start a chainsaw, but I was going to mill logs. Luckily, my son has a landscaping company, and he would break people in by having them come up and cut down my trees. And then I would make them teach me how to do it, so that way I learned. But that first year was about learning how to use some equipment, learning and getting comfortable with my sawmill, and then we could start building, because at that point, all of my money went into this property, the sawmill, and an RV. And so I figured if I had the tools, I could do the work. I'm not afraid of work. I never have been. I actually really enjoy it. But it is really, really hard doing this without equipment. So I would have to say that's one thing that I wish I would have gotten was tractor. So, you know, we're just working on figuring out ways that we can do this without a lot of heavy equipment. We do have friends that will come over and bring with friends that brought their tractor over and helped us out with some stuff. And every now and then my son will bring the skid loader over and he'll move the big trees that need to be moved and that kind of stuff. So,
or move trailers in the snow.
Or move trailers in the snow. We've had Scott come do that a couple of times. Well, once in the snow, once not in the snow. The one thing that I absolutely love about this area is the community. The people that come together and that just want to see you succeed in life live in northern Idaho, and I am a Texas girl, so I am saying that out loud. I love this area, and it's amazing to have such a community of people, whether they YouTube or whether they don't YouTube. It's pretty awesome. We have a lot of plans right now. We're building a shipping container tiny home that has a tree house over it, so that's a lot of fun. And that's basically because really I am a 11-year-old girl who wants to live in a tree. And so that's what started the tree house. I myself could live in my RV with no problem, but when I invited niece and my best friend Kimmy, I was there when her son was born and I renamed him wrong. It's a whole story, it's hysterical. And 30 years later I still get in trouble for it. But I convinced her to start her channel, which is Waking Up Country. So she's timing me because I will talk for 2 hours straight without breathing. It's a real thing, happens all the time. But she's going to come up here and hang out with me while we chat, even though it hasn't been 15 minutes. So Kim, I invited her to come up and help me. She's also a veteran. That's where we met. We met when we were 18 years old. One of the biggest things that was an issue for me is I was a single woman. I'm a widow. And doing this without the help of a spouse, without the help of a child that lives close by with his skid loader to do my things because he has a business that is flourishing.
And a family.
And a family. I was trying to figure out how can I get some help with someone that wanted to do this, and I've basically been begging her for about 10, 15 years to move out to the country and hang out with me because we have a lot of fun together. So we're doing a lot of hard work, but really trying to focus on having a really good time doing it. So we don't work super fast, but next month I'll be 50. So I don't need to hurry. This is a good time for me. We have a barn garage that we're building that we're going to put up probably late September. We're milling all the logs for that, so we're getting started on that. So if you guys like milling videos, make sure you come over and hang out.
We may not work fast, but we work hard. We work very, very hard. Physically, for two, do you want me to hold it? Physically for two women that are almost 50, like, doing what we do, I think is pretty impressive. And our goal is to also inspire other women out there that maybe lost their spouse, are widowed, or have, been divorced or what have you, but have this dream. And, I'm a total city girl, and I'm like, okay, this is something that I want to do. I see what's happening in the world. I want to live self-sustainable. I have somebody who's got some amazing experience and can teach me how to do some of this stuff. And, if we can, I'm talking about you. If we can inspire other people that they can do this kind of thing too, I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing. Right?
So we do have some animals on the livestock. We have goats.
One's a pack animal.
We weren't supposed to have a boy goat, but we do because Kimmy's here.
I'm a city girl.
We bottle fed a couple of babies and he went to her. So we now have a wether.
That's not food.
But in the past, I have milked goats. I make cheese. I do all that kind of good stuff. Absolutely love all of that. We're not doing any of that right now, but we will be because we have a very tiny kitchen in an RV. We are raising a couple of pigs right now to help clear garden space and do that kind of stuff. I'm just teasing you, Dad. Because we are wooded and we are creating a orchard and garden space out of woods that were very thick that you couldn't even walk into or see into. It was very, very thick. So we sent the goats in first. We're doing some clearing and we'll be sending the pigs in next to pull out those little trees and do that kind of stuff like Dan was talking about. And then we'll eat them because it's reality. Bacon is good. We also have some meat rabbits. We have some chickens. We will be getting into quail. So we're trying to grow right now as much as we possibly can while we're building and doing some stuff like that because of what's going on in the world today. I think it's really important. It was something that we were going to put off until the house was built, but because you walk into the grocery stores and there's not as much food inside there, we decided to jump over to that and work on gardening and stuff like that. So we will be putting up a barn dominium in the next couple of years, probably an A-frame house for Kimmy. And my son will eventually be moving onto the property and building also, but he probably won't be YouTubed because I embarrass him a lot. A lot. But, that's basically what we're doing. We're just hanging out on the mountain. We're doing what we can do. We're learning as we go, and we take you guys along with us. And we crack up and we laugh a lot, and I definitely put the bloopers in the videos.
We also are doing some, in the future we'll be doing some water collection as well. A well is not in the future really, as she talked about earlier, for
solar.
The channel. We also have solar and wind turbine that we're going to be putting up this year to get a lot of wind on the mountain. So I think that's going to be something really cool to be able to do and to show off to people as well.
One of the other newer things that we've added to the channel is I'm actually a behavior specialist with dogs. I started training when I was 10 years old. Trained and sold dogs to the military after I got out, and being that I have PTSD, I was in a unique position to train PTSD service dogs. And so I'm sharing that knowledge with you guys on my YouTube channel. And so Wednesdays, we do a dog training lesson, and then we go live so that I can answer your questions and help you with your dogs. And that's just a fun thing that we can do that I really enjoy. And then Tuesdays we build something. I don't know. No, sorry.
Start to finish.
Thursdays, start to finish. So we used to get, because we did daily videos, people would give us a hard time about not finishing anything. But so now we do bigger videos on Mondays and Fridays, which is usually a start to finish. Thursdays we build something. Wednesdays we do a dog training. Tuesdays we go live. So if you guys just want to come and hang out and crack up, because we kind of are funny. Sometimes.
We think we are.
We think we're hilarious. We're probably not going to teach you anything because we're learning as we go. But we do show you when we mess up and when we make mistakes and then how we fix it.
Yep, that's important.
Because that is a reality of learning as you're going.
We also show an inexpensive way. We show an inexpensive way to do things on the property. We use the materials that are on the property to build things, to make things, because a lot of people that are just starting out on raw land don't have that money and don't have the equipment and don't have all of those things. So you got to find an alternative. How do you do it cheap?
Yep. And that's actually why we decided the shipping container. I have a lot of people that ask that. Why are you doing a shipping container tiny home? Well, I purchased the shipping container to store all my stuff in. And when Kenny came and my niece Kira was there for a little while, we needed a little bit more space, and I owned the shipping container. And I'd actually found Courtney and Riley's first videos, where are they, of their shipping container build, and then they just stopped. They stopped videoing it. So it was really fun meeting them, because I had watched those, way back, and those were your first couple. So that was why we decided to do the shipping container. It actually was not in the plan, but it will end up being our canning house and a guest space for friends whenever they come visit. Once the other houses are built, but right now we'll get to live in it, and that gives us a lot more space than what we have in the RV. So I think that's basically it. Does anybody have any questions? Then I'm good. So you are released.
Once more into the